The Reckoning at Bay 7. The turquoise VW camper didn't just roll in, it practically burst onto the scene. It screeched into the parking spot like a hyperactive beetle, rockabilly music blasting at full volume, with brakes squealing like they were in a horror movie. This quirky little ride shuddered and coughed, almost like it was trying to shake off the dust from a hellish road trip. It let out a final puff of exhaust that smelled a bit like burnt toast and sulphur, giving off a vibe that it had been through the highway to hell and told very loudly to get out. You could totally picture it cruising down the highway of broken dreams, windows down, with a bunch of demonic entities begging to be let out. Honestly, it's the kind of vehicle that makes you grateful you weren't inside. Out of the camper poured a woman who looked like she'd been styled by a committee of blindfolded wild boar with access to a vintage sale bin and some serious emotional baggage. Seriously, her hair was peroxide blonde, teased into a bouffant that defied gravity and good judgment. It shimmered in the light like a neon sign, screaming for attention. Her boots, brown, cracked, and calf-length, clomped onto the tarmac with the solemnity of a condemned marionette. They were cowboy boots, technically, but no self-respecting cowboy would claim them without a solid lawyer on speed dial. You know what I mean. It was like she stepped right out of a fashion disaster reality show, and honestly, you couldn't help but wonder about her backstory. Was there a special spot in hell for that kind of style? She wore this faded red ditzy print dress that danced around her knees, almost like it was trying to escape into the sunset. The floral pattern? Well, it was a bit of a stretch to call it that. Honestly, it looked like someone had sketched flowers after a wild night out, maybe after a few too many drinks, you know. And then there was the cardigan. Once a rich garnet, it had faded into a color that could only be described as highly suspect #1 forgotten redness. It hung off her shoulders like it had seen some serious life drama. You could almost picture it being knitted in a time when washing machines were just a dream. Now it had morphed into a shape that defied all logic, resembling a blob that had lost its way in the maximum spin cycle. It was like a fashion statement that whispered stories of days gone by, quirky and a little bit sad. The sun, which had been shining just moments before, took one look at her and quickly retreated behind a cloud like a Victorian child dodging a scandalous gaze. Shadows stretched out ominously, making everything feel a bit heavier. Birds, usually cheerful, suddenly hushed as if they sensed the tension. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm whimpered, adding to the eerie silence. It was as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for what would happen next. You know that feeling when something just feels off? That's exactly what it was like. The other folks in the parking lot, just your everyday people out for groceries, dog walks, or maybe even some fresh air, all totally frozen in disbelief. You could see it all unfold like a slow-motion movie. A guy holding a latte. Yeah, he dropped it in slow motion that even Neo's bullet-dodging special effect looked clumsy and sped up, and the latte splashed everywhere. Meanwhile, a woman, clutching her reusable shopping bag like it was some kind of magical shield, frantically dialed up the local exorcist. There was this kid, eyes wide and totally amazed, whispering to his mum, "Is she real?" His mum quickly covered his eyes, probably wishing she could shield herself too. It was like a scene straight out of a Blair Witch horror movie, blending everyday life with a sprinkle of the hell-on-earth surrealism. Everyone was just trying to wrap their heads around what was happening, caught between their mundane errands and this unexpected twist. Therapists across the county suddenly found themselves swamped with new clients. It was like everyone decided to dive into their feelings all at once. Meanwhile, a guy parked 2 bays over was furiously typing a Trustpilot review for reality itself. 1 star. Would not recommend. Seriously, the cardigan just blinked at me. I mean, what even is happening? It's a total mess, like black holes are fighting over it. The woman stood tall, or at least upright, her hands confidently perched on her hips, surveying the scene like a prophet who'd just arrived to announce the end of days, but only for folks who dared to wear sensible shoes. With a squint that could rival a seasoned detective, she scanned the horizon, then shot a glare at the parking meter, as if it were a personal enemy. Her gaze landed on a pigeon that had made the unfortunate choice to look directly at her. The pigeon blinked twice, clearly reconsidering its life choices, before it flapped away into a nearby hedge, probably seeking refuge from her intense scrutiny. She began to speak, but honestly, no one could hear her over the deafening sound of collective trauma. Her voice had this wild mix of Essex nightclub vibes and post-divorce karaoke, like you could almost feel the heartbreak in it. She mentioned something about looking for the way out and needing exact change, but those words just got swallowed up by the wind, lost in a rising tide of disbelief. It felt like everyone was lost in their own chaos, while she was trying to summon some kind of monstrous spirit purse, only to be met with repeated rejections and gnashing teeth. You could see the frustration on her face, a blend of world domination and fear, everlasting despair. And it hit hard, you know. It's like she was reaching out, but the world around her was too frightened, too stunned to even try and respond, certainly not without the Pope present. A guy in a Volvo was trying to back out, but totally fumbled and ended up turning on his windshield wipers instead. A woman in yoga pants leaned in through his open side window and whispered, "This is how it starts," while she frantically Googled how to survive a fashion-based apocalypse. And then, just like that, as suddenly as she had arrived, she turned, climbed back into the camper and drove off, leaving behind only the acrid scent of hairspray, sulphur and hummus that lingered in the air, the unmistakable echo of her cowboy boots on the pavement, and a parking bay that would never feel quite the same again. It felt like she took the very soul of that spot with her. Now it's just marked by the memory of the horror, with a big "no parking" sign in the center and cordoned off in triplicate. It left behind a little slice of wild that folks would chat about for ages, especially around Halloween or within the safety of holy, sacred grounds. People would stroll by, glancing at the empty space, maybe wondering who she was and where she vanished to. And honestly, there was this underlying thought of, please don't let her come back. It was like the finale of a long, drawn-out film series that just kept getting more bland and ridiculous. The sun peeked out again, taking its sweet time. You could almost hear it saying, "I'm here when I'm ready." The latte guy was openly crying, feeling all the feels, like he just watched the saddest movie ever. Meanwhile, the pigeon waddled out from the hedge, looking older and wiser, like it just finished a therapy session. Seriously, this bird had that "I've seen some things" vibe going on, like a little slice of life where everyone's just feeling their emotions, from the barista to the bird. It's like the universe decided to put on a show today. Bay 7 was basically off-limits forever. It was like this big secret nobody dared to talk about that spot there, with frantic pointed fingers at it, while in its presence. People would rush by, making quick signs of the cross or whispering little prayers for protection. It was super eerie, but everyone felt that tension in the air. Rumors swirled about strange noises and shadows moving around, making it feel like a scene from a horror movie. You could almost sense the collective fear. Even the bravest souls would quicken their pace, glancing over their shoulders, as if Bay 7 had some kind of dark magic that could pull you in. Visitors wondered how a place could hold so much mystery and utter dread. Even they rapidly walked past Bay 7, shuddering from the chill. Somewhere in the Malvern Hills, a shapeless, faded red woolen entity sat quietly waiting. Love the vibe? Hit like, share and subscribe for more van life stories.